Hello and welcome to the video. It's Mercedes time again. I brought the car in because I've got the big red illumination on the dashboard saying battery fault. Now the battery's fairly new, so I'm going to presume for the moment at least that the battery's okay and that it's a charging fault instead. I've had the car up on the ramp and I've flushed the alternator out with brake cleaner. Now I know it sounds like a daft idea, but I had the same problem or a similar problem about 18 months ago, and I flushed the alternator out then and it seemed to cure it, so it was worth a try anyway. And the reason I've done that is because I have at least one significant oil leak on this car. And oil's running down this side of the engine, the alternator's down in there. The oil's running down and I think it's coming out this filler cap. And it's going straight into the alternator, and then all the dust and shite is sticking to the alternator, and I'm hoping that that's the problem. So it's about an hour since I flushed it out, so it's had plenty of time to evaporate and reduce the fire hazard, because we don't want it catching fire, do we? Well, at least not till we've checked our insurance. So let's go and see what happens now. I'll give it a minute. The light isn't on at the moment, but see if it comes on. Now there you go. So that hasn't worked. So that's our problem. Okay, so it's a couple of days later, because I've ordered I've purchased a new voltage regulator for the alternator, and there's a couple of days lead-in time on it, and I got it from the Mercedes main dealer, so it should be the right part. Right, let's get the alternator off. There's the alternator. I've got my ratchet on one bolt on the top. There's another bolt here, and there are two bolts underneath, which are easier access from below. So I've got them loose, so let's get these out. See if we can get that alternator off. Well, that's the alternator off, and you can see how shitty it is in there. I mean, that oil's been leaking in there for quite a while. That's pretty bad. Now, these are the two bolt holes that I showed you that you can access from the top, and it's the same underneath. You've got two bolts go through these holes, and they're easier access from underneath the car. And then you need to unplug this socket, and you have the main wire that goes on there. Get it in focus. The main wire goes in there, and that's held on by a 13mm nut. It's a bit awkward to get to, but yeah, doable. So let's get this cleaned up and swap the regulator. That's a bit cleaner. So we'll remove this cover. Just a 7mm Torx for that. Take these screws out. Right, it's 3 screws holding that cover on. We'll take that off, see what we've got inside. Yuck. So that's with the cover off, and this is the regulator. So 1, 2, 3, 4 screws holding that on. I'll take those out. Right, that's the 4 screws out, so that should just lift off now. Hopefully. Hello. Should do. That's it. Right, there we can see the damage. Yeah, there's our brushes, completely worn out. I'll show you the new one. There's the new one with the brushes in. There's the old one. Right, so I think we'll clean this up and get all that debris out of there, all that crap. We'll give it a swill out with some electrical cleaner. Right, it's going to be a bit fiddly to get it in without damaging these brushes. So I'm just going to hold them in, push them in with a screwdriver and hold them in while I line that up. And pull my screwdriver out. And there we are. That's it in properly, I hope. That comes with a set of new screws, so I might as well use them. Right, so the two short ones go on the inside. Two longer ones on the outside. So I bought this regulator from the main dealer and it was about 65 quid. And if you take your old one back, it's a service exchange one, so you get about a tenner back on the old one. So it's not worth risking buying a cheaper one off the internet, I don't think. It's not that expensive. You'll pop that cap back on, put the new screws in. And that should be good to go back on. Right, let's get the alternator back in. I'm just going to slide one of these rubber kneeling pads down in front of the radiator just for a bit of protection, because it's quite a heavy little unit, this alternator, and you've got to kind of winkle it in around these pipes, so I don't want to damage the radiator, so I'll just put that in to protect it. Bit of insurance. You could use a bit of cardboard or something, a bit of thick cardboard would do. Right, squash it in that hole. I've got the alternator somewhere near, but what we need to do now is to put this back bolt in before we get the alternator in place, because we can't get it in once the alternator is in place, because the bolt is too long and it goes up against that back plate. So we need to put it in first through the alternator, but first of all we've got to make sure that we remember to put it through this bracket. I can find the bloody hole in it. Right, so that's the bolt threaded through the alternator. Now we can lift it in place. Right, that's the both of them started. I'll wind them in a little bit and then I'll go underneath and put the bottom two in before I tighten anything up. Right, we'll pop these two bottom bolts back in now. Much easier than trying to get them from above. I mean, you can do it, but at least you can see what you're doing here. Tighten those up with an E12. There's not much room to work, but you can do it. Don't forget to put the cable back on and the nut. It's a 13mm nut. We'll get that on. Right, that'll do that. Okay, so we're back in the engine bay. Yeah, we've got a lot of other shit going on in here, which I'll get to in a minute. But while we're in, I thought I'd explain to you what's going on with the belt tensioner, because it's not always easy to see what's going on when you've got all these pipes connected and lots of things in your way. You can't always see, there's not much room. So I just thought I'd give a quick demo on what exactly you're trying to achieve when you're taking the belt off or putting it back on. So what we have, this is the belt tensioner, that's the idler wheel. The centre bolt holds it onto the engine, and then there's a nut on the bottom, 17mm. You probably want a socket, and I've got a spanner on for demonstration purposes only. So when you turn this anti-clockwise, like that, put some weight on, it releases the tension on the belt tensioner. That's spring loaded, and it's quite a strong spring. And what you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve, if you look down in here, and there, you can see a lug sticking out. And then on the belt tensioner, there's a hole here. It's a 6mm hole, right? And you can see that, you can just see the tip of that rod coming through the hole. And what we're trying to achieve is we're trying to turn this belt tensioner so that that hole is above the tab, if you understand what I'm saying. So we put the tension on it, and then we slide something in that hole, and as you can see, it's slotted over the top of the tab. Now when we release it, that holds it in position. So like I say, that's a 6mm hole, so don't try and put anything bigger than 6mm in. This is just an old bolt. Don't use one that you've taken off your engine, because you might damage the threads, because there's quite a bit of tension on there. And that will hold it in place while you take the belt off and change it, or whatever you're doing. I mean, obviously I've got the belt off because I've got the alternator off. But that's basically what you're trying to achieve. So you want enough pressure on to get that hole past that tab, slide something in, doesn't matter what really, and that will stay there. Now another reason we're in this part of the engine is for this bad boy. Now this is the oil filter housing, and it bolts onto the front of the engine, these 4 bolts, sort of behind that belt tensioner. And the reason I've got this off is because I want to change this oil seal here, this rubber seal. When you look at it, you probably can't see it on the camera, but it has a couple of really obvious flat spots in it where it doesn't stick proud of this surface, so it needs replacing. And I've got a genuine Mercedes one from the main dealer, that's the part. And I'll show you the reason why I got genuine parts. So this is my sales invoice for that gasket, and I got a new oil filler cap. Now you can see the grand total of £12.60. So it's really not worth going on the internet and finding cheap shit from China, because you're not going to save that much money. However, this is a 2-part unit, so it comes apart with those 3 bolts there, and there's another rubber seal in here. Now I haven't tested this theory out myself, but apparently if you want to get that rubber seal, you've got to buy this whole unit, and I can't imagine that being cheap. So you might want to check that out for yourself, because I didn't bother asking how much it was. I've taken this apart, and the rubber seal in there on this one looks in really good condition. So I might be doing the wrong thing, I don't know, but I'll put the old one back in. My logic for that is, it looks really good, so why should I take a good seal out and put in some cheap shit from China? So I'll take a chance on that. I might be proved wrong, but hey ho, I can live with that. So we'll winkle this old seal out of here and put the new one in. And it doesn't want to come out. Oh, there we go. That's in fairly tight. We'll give that a clean out. Right, see if we can get the new one in. Make sure it's seated right. All looks good. Right, we can stick that back on now. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here, but this kind of drops in behind there. Honest, really does. Oh, there you go. twist it around a couple of times. A bit awkward, but it does go in. Now see if I can get a bolt in. As usual, I'm working left-handed. So you need an E10 socket for these. Okay, so that's everything put back together, bolted up, all the pipework connected and everything done, apart from the cooling fan. Now I've watched a lot of videos of people working on the front of these engines, changing the pulleys, changing the belt, changing the front crankshaft pulley, and they don't take the fan out. Now that's probably because it looks like a difficult job to get the fan out, but it's not. It's really easy to get out. I'll show you how to do it. Right, so this is your cooling fan. What we've got is we've got some little retaining clips here that the hoses clip into. The hoses just lift out of those clips, and then we have the socket where the electrics plug in, so you need to unplug that, and then we have 4 tabs. You can see here the 2 on the bottom and 2 on the top. Okay, so these 2 bottom tabs, when I drop that fan back in, they fit into 2 slots underneath on the back of the radiator. So basically you just lower it in and they sit in the 2 slots. And then these 2 top tabs, what there is underneath here, and I'll show you in a minute, is a clip on either side that just clips over the top of that tab. So when you take it out, you push the clips up and this thing folds forward and you just lift it out, and it's as simple as that. There's just 2 retaining clips, that's all that holds it in. I'll show you how to get to those. Now I don't know whether this applies to all Mercs or not because I've never done another one, but this is a CLS. So if you look on the front, you can see these 2 plugs here, one there, one there. And if you go straight forward from those and underneath, you'll see the 2 retaining clips. I'll see if I can get the camera in. I'll get the camera to focus. So there's the clip. So you slide that clip up. There's one on the other side as well. So when I slide that clip up out of the way, and that's all that holds it in, one either side. Now if you look down the bottom of the radiator, you can see there the plastic clip that the bottom lug fits in. And it's the same on the other side of the radiator. So it just, the lug on the fan sits in that groove there. Right, let's see if we can get it back in, eh? Gotta get it past those hoses. That's it. Right. Push it in. Now what I've discovered after fiddling about to get it back in is if you take these 2 plugs out, it allows you to move the top of the radiator forward a bit and gives you quite a bit more room underneath, because it is a fiddly job this. And it's actually easier if you take those clips right out. So to get this out, just pop that plug out, and then this plastic bit here, what you want to do is twist it round, so turn it a quarter of a turn, and then that'll just lift out, and then you can get something in to just ease the radiator forward a little bit. It gives you a little bit more room underneath. So take the clip right out, put the fan back in, and then fiddle about and put the clip back in, and then pop the bung back in. Does go back in. Make sure it's right in. Twist that round and pop the plug back in. Simple. Well, that's it for this video. If you liked it or found it useful, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one.